Teresa Kelly, you won the gift voucher there, so congratulations. Okay, right, so leggy plants. I've seen quite a few photographs of people coming and asking or messaging Facebook groups, and also private messaging me to say, is this too leggy? And in most cases, if you're asking that question, it is. It's got too leggy. The plant has been running towards the light, and you haven't been taking care of it in order to, well, you have been taking care of it, but you've just let it run towards the light. The soil could be too rich, and also there's not enough, it's not getting enough light, so it's going towards the light too quickly. So like I mentioned this before, in the second week, the best thing that I've been doing is I turn the seed trays. So and I was trying to find some leggy plants there, but obviously because I haven't been allowing that to happen, I don't have any to show you. So this is a little chili pepper. Okay, now if I had that at my window, and I only had the one window, it would move towards the light, so it would start going that way. And what I want to do is I want to slow that down. So every day I take it, so it would be going, and I move it around from the light, so it has to spend all that energy going back again. So instead of keep on going forward, you can slow it down because you're moving it back. But you have to do it every single day, because you'll come out and you'll see your seed trays and everything will have gone that way. So you have to move it again back away from the light to let it spend that energy. And I find that's the best way to slow it down. But if you do find that your plants are very leggy, sometimes with salads, with oriental salads, your mizunas and things like that, and also your tomatoes, you can transplant them if you get them on time. Now if they go that leggy, they'll probably just fall over, but you can transplant them, and when you do transplant them, you can plant them a bit deeper. So if you did have a leggy plant like that, I would get it in like that into the ground, into the soil of the transplanting pot. So from your wherever you're transplanted from, put it into another pot and actually put it down a bit deeper. And that will allow the stem then to start sending out other little roots, and it'll give it a bit more stability, which is what it's looking for. Because if you let them go too leggy, then eventually they'll just fall over. They'll have spent too much energy trying to get there. And what the problem mostly is that we sow our plants too early. So remember that as well. If you don't have the next stage, which is your garden or your window box or your hanging basket, if you don't have that ready, by the time that is ready to go, then that's what will happen. You'll lose. There's a kind of a time frame there that you want to catch. But don't be too worried about it, because you can always go and sow again quite quickly. You're near the end of the time to be sowing our tomatoes and things like that. But you know, I lost one variety of tomatoes last week. They just weren't performing very well, so I sowed again. So don't panic too much about certain varieties. You can go again, but try not to let them get leggy in the first place. All right, so that's leggy plants, yeah, like it happens. It's kind of like the first couple of years this problem will happen, but hopefully you'll learn every time from your mistakes, and it won't happen again. So okay, quickly on watering correctly. People have been asking me, you know, how do I know if I've watered too much or too little? The problem being is that when you water onto the top of your soil, if you've got your seed trays, I'll just show you here. Let's see, a good example and a bad example, because we all make mistakes continually in the garden. Okay, I'm just trying to find, yeah, okay. So a good, like, I've just watered this morning. I've just watered all the plants this morning. And one thing you always have to make sure is you've got the drainage at the bottom of your trays. And I've just come along, quickly watered. But as you can see, that's really wet now. Now, by this afternoon, the top layer of this soil will be dried out. It will look dried out. But if you put your finger in just underneath the soil, you can feel that it's moist under there, and that's what you're looking for. So don't panic too much that if it's not wet there. You just want to pop your finger underneath, because sometimes the soil on top can create a cap which holds that moisture in as well. So you don't want to overwater your plants by just checking this top layer. So you're always going in just a wee bit deeper on that. And then if you overwater, you'll end up with the problem being, and this is a tray with no holes on it. Okay, this is my kids were planting this, and I just really let them do it when they're at it. So this is a tray with no holes on it. It hasn't been watered correctly, probably too much because it's been on the line where I'm watering. The water hasn't got away. It's become green on top, where it's because there's been no airflow, and also the water's been sitting. So that's not a good thing, and the seeds haven't even started to come up. Now I only sowed these ones just there the other day, so I'm still waiting for them. But make sure that you're not watering too much. And then the other one that I was talking about was the capillary matting. This is what capillary matting looks like. But I reckon you could just use carpet as well. Something that's not synthetic, if you had any carpet. Because what you're planning to do with the capillary matting is that you want to put the seeds on top of this matting, your seed tray. And as you wet this matting, then this becomes wet, and the plant it's sitting on starts to soak it up from below. So when we were talking there about making sure that it's moist and underneath past that capping, it's underneath is where the roots are, and that's where you want the moisture to be. So this way the plant takes it up from below rather than you're feeding in at the top. And what you do is you make yourself a little wick, if you can see that. So you've got your matting. Now that's all folded up, but your matting would sit flat on your bed, or not your bed, flat on your tray or your shelf. And then you would get this like a little wick, and you pop that into the water, and then that transfers the water from here to the mat. So that's connected, that sits like that, and this part sits on your capillary matting, and the water comes across from that like a little wick, and it keeps the capillary matting wet. So rather than you're watering on top of the plants, you're transferring the water over, and it's sucking it up like a straw. So hello Deirdre. Yes, thank you. Oh, that's great. That's Deirdre McGlone from Harvey's Point. Got a phone call yesterday to ask me advice in the garden, and she was out in the garden, so thank you very much. Deirdre's one of my mentors for the Acorn program, so I'm delighted that she's ringing me for advice now. Okay, so that's using the capillary effect of the watering. And I find that it's very good. That capillary matting I bought in a garden centre, they do it in rolls, big rolls at the back of some garden centres, and you can just buy it for a couple of euro. So it doesn't cost you a lot of money. But as I say, if you don't have the capillary matting, you can go and use some carpet or something like that. You're just looking to create that wick effect. A lot of people would use it if they're going off on holiday, but that might not be the case anymore this spring. So you might be able to keep your plants well watered. But if you're also doing some tiny seedlings, that might be a good way that you're watering from below instead of on the top. Okay.